Welcome to Yuba County Board of Supervisors meeting of April 24, 2012. Please turn off cell phones, electronic equipment that might disturb the meeting. First we have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Supervisor Nicoletti.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Supervisor Vasquez.
Here.
Supervisor Nicoletti.
Here.
Supervisor Griego absent. Supervisor Avi.
Here.
Supervisor Stalker.
Here. Consent agenda. All matters listed on the consent agenda are considered to be routine and can be enacted in one motion.
Move for approval.
Second. Any comments from the audience on the consent agenda? There's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carried. Special presentation. Present proclamation to Feather River Air Quality Management District proclaiming May 2012 as May is Bike Month. And we have a resolution here about the bikes. Proclamation declaring May 2012 as May is Bike Month. Millions of Americans engage in bicycling because of an excellent form of exercise, a viable and environmental sound form of transportation, and a fun and enjoyable activity. Bicycle commuting is an effective means to reduce air pollution, conserve energy, and more than half of the commute trips and 3 or 4 shopping trips under 5 miles in length, which is ideal for bicycling. Approximately half of all employees live within 5 miles of their work sites, and bicycle commuting helps improve the livability of communities and by reducing traffic noise and congestion. Bicycling offers an environmental preferable alternative to short car trips because coal engine starts are most polluting and least efficient. It's just 3% of all car trips were replaced with bicycle trips. It would yield a reduction of over 2.5 million miles driven and 3.5 tons of smog forming pollutants, 20 tons of carbon monoxide, and over half of particulate matter released into the air. Therefore, the Yuba County Board of Supervisors does hereby declare May 2012 as May is Bike Month, encourage all citizens to recognize the importance of sharing our streets with cyclists, and encourage citizens to participate in cycling activities to whatever extent possible during this month, including cycling to work, logging their miles in on the proper site toward the Million Mile Challenge. Has anybody here to accept the commendation? Guess not. So we just pass that on to the proper folks, and we'll continue with the meeting. Public communication.
Any person may speak about any subject of concern, provided it is within the jurisdiction of the Board of Supervisors and is not already on today's agenda. The total amount of time allotted for receiving such public communication shall be limited to a total of 15 minutes, and each individual or group will be limited to no more than 5 minutes. Prior to this time, speakers are requested to fill out a request to speak card and submit it to the clerk of the Board of Supervisors. Please note, no board action can be taken under comments made under this heading. No cards.
No cards. Anyone in the audience wish to speak under public communication? Seeing none. County departments, human resources and organizational services. Adopt resolution amending the departmental position allocation schedule effective May 1, 2012 as it relates to the auditor and controller. Mr. Vendor.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Robert Vendor, County Administrator. The auditor controller cannot be here this morning, so I'm presenting this item for him along with the Human Resources Director if she needed to speak on this topic. Over the last several months, since the new auditor controller, Richard Everly, has started his tenure as as our auditor controller. He's made some changes within that office to provide for some more efficiencies and economies. In addition to that, he has met with me and representatives from my office as well to discuss his business plan moving forward, again, to gain greater efficiencies and economies in the years forward. What's recommended to you today has been recommended to me. We've discussed at length his business plan moving forward, and I support the recommendation that is here before you today. And the recommendation that's before you today is to add 2 applications. It's somewhat unique because we don't usually do this during the course of a fiscal year, but considering the changes that we did have, I strongly recommend approval of this item. As you know, he is without an assistant auditor controller, and there are several functions that occur towards the end of the fiscal year, specifically year-end close. And in order for us to prepare adequately for the budgets in upcoming years, and also to work with departments, he needs those resources. He's not proposing to have a higher level position there at this time. That's coming in the future, and he's phasing in this plan because he certainly recognizes the budget constraints that we are all under. He is requesting to add to his allocation auditor controller's office an accounting assistant 1-2 and also an accounting technician. He feels this will give him the resources that he needs now and into the future, and the cost of a little less than $9,000 will be offset by salary savings during the current fiscal year, and it will be represented in the budget going forward, and your board will have another chance to consider it then as well. He hopes to get these 2 people on board within the next month, and we'll move forward from there. So having said that, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions your board may have.
Any questions or comments?
The only comment I'd make is this was not a new discovery. This was discussed at the time that we were going to be bringing what ended up being Richard Everly on board. We knew then there could be some strategies in sort of sorting that out, and so it's good to see that we're falling in the line in a metered fashion. So it is important.
Yeah, like I said, it is somewhat unique coming to the board requesting additional position allocations during the course of the fiscal year, or the circumstances under which Mr. Everly took over are somewhat unique as well. And we need to do what's right for the business itself to make sure we can process what we have and have the resources in the auditor controller's office. So that's the recommendation before you today.
Yeah, it's something we probably all pretty much expected with the new department head, and anyway, yeah.
Through the chair, Rob, you talk about going forward, it'd be $9,000 for the balance of this fiscal year, but going forward, the 2 additional positions will be reflected in the upcoming budget. Can you give me an estimate of what the dollar amount for those 2 positions are anticipated to be?
I believe fully staffed for the entire fiscal year. Again, it depends upon certain things like medical coverage if they come from within the county. And they also bring with them longevity. But I think at the base staff, and Martha, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think the total cost for those 2 positions would be somewhere in the area of $85,000 for the entire fiscal year.
My dilemma is that while I recognize the auditor's office probably desperately needs to have the positions, I think the same desperate need exists in most, if not all, of our departments. And I guess I'm just a little ambivalent about approving this and then going forward in the next fiscal year, the department saying, clearly there must be sufficient funds to add staff, and everybody needs to add staff, and so rather than cutting whatever that there'll be requests for additional funds, I don't know that we have that. And so while I recognize the need for this moving forward, I'm just really hesitant about whether or not we have the funds to do it.
Sure.
And I really would not want to see him hire a couple of people now and then turn out that we can't keep them, and so they're only working for several months and then they're let go of. I mean, so I find myself in a real quandary as to, I'd like to approve it, but I'm not sure that I can, so.
Yeah, I found, through the chair, I found myself in the same quandary when Rich and I were speaking about this, and he doesn't want to come forward with a plan that identifies all the resources right now that would be appropriate to fill the voids within the auditor controller's office that are sorely needed. And he recognizes the budget constraints. And when we discuss this over several meetings. And I too am very concerned. But also at the same time, the auditor controller's office is the core of all the financial workings within the county on a day-to-day basis. And to be quite frank with you, I don't feel that enough resources were a part of that office as necessary. And we can stretch it all the way from the processing to internal audits and so forth. And that's something that needs to occur on a day-to-day approach if we want to have a sound business and sound business practices. And this will certainly get us going in the right direction. But without the additional resources in there, we are going to be missing things and causing delays that may have a greater financial impact than the addition of these two positions. And again, same quandary for me, but also recognize working with Mr. Everly and representatives from the auditor's office, this is sorely needed.
And especially I wanted to express my appreciation for him coming forward and making a request to the board to allocate positions in order for his office to properly carry out the function. And without those kinds of notice and requests, there's no way for the board to know precisely what's necessary and what's needed.
Mr. Chair, I understand that they're going to be hiring, they're farming out less professional services because of the filling these positions. Is that correct?
He's taken some savings from the professional services area to cover the cost for the remainder of the fiscal year. I don't think the auditor's office really farmed out too much in the way of professional services other than what's mandated by law than having an independent third party conduct the countywide audit. I think the outside audit function is really one of the few, as far as professional services go, that he contracts with outside. But the stumbling blocks that we run into have been somebody at the front counter to accept that things like deposits and processes and so forth. And I can go on and on for days. But
I understand he was handed a little mess there, and perhaps we should have farmed out more professional services to straighten out the misinformation that was originally given. Maybe this will give him a chance to straighten it out so he actually has accurate figures to work with.
Through the chair. For Mr. Abe, your concern, and to go a little farther on one of the comments that Robert Bender made, consider this, that we have not done internal audits in Yuba County, and it may likely be that when we look through our resources with our in-house auditing systems, we may very well find efficiencies that we are currently unaware of. I mean, things change over time, and as we take a look at systems that may be antiquated, better tracking, faster response, those kinds of issues, we may easily make up not only efficiency points that we need to capture and speed up our quality of tracking and auditing, but in fact, we might be able to ward off layoffs as a result of finding better efficiencies and increasing the power and resource in that one office probably will have more of an effect countywide, staffing-wise, than probably any other department. I think it's hard, and that's why I stand in support of this program.
yeah, and from my perspective, again, I apologize for my brevity in presenting this item, but truly, again, I had some misgivings as well, especially bringing this forward to the board during these tough economic times and realize the resource shortages that we have in other departments. But we had lengthy conversations, and I'm trying to encapsulate in just a brief few minutes here for the board those conversations. And again, it ranges from the processing of funds within the county all the way to our system management and our processes there. And there is such a broad swath of work to be done, and we're focusing on that. But he's one of the few department heads that's functioning without an assistant. He believes that these resources, albeit at a lesser degree than an assistant, will certainly help get him through a lengthy time period. So there is a little compromise there, and I can tell you he's working very hard at making sure we stay standing on our own 2 feet.
It's a really difficult decision to make when all the departments are working on bare bones budgets, and they all deserve more money. So it makes it very difficult. But I think we should do it.
So I'd like to make a motion that we approve the action.
Second. Okay. Motion and a second. Any comments from the audience? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Difficult times. We're still in the difficult times. We still are not out of this recession. Not by a long shot. Moving on. Under county departments and probation, adopt resolution proclaiming April 22 to 29, 2012 National Crime Victims' Rights Week in celebration of service to victims of crime, commending Yuba County Probation and other units of government for providing exemplary service to victims of crime and authorized temporary pictorial memorials in various county buildings. Michelle's going to do the honors.
Whereas National Crime Victims Week was declared in 1981 to focus on the needs of our nation's crime victims. Whereas the commemoration of National Crime Victims' Rights Week provides national opportunity to reflect on the devastating impact of crime on victims not only locally, but on our entire nation, and to strengthen our national resolve to ensure the needs of victims are identified and addressed. Whereas National Crime Theme for Crime Victims Rights Week is extending the vision, reaching every victim. And the Yuba County Probation Victim and Program Services has adopted this as the county motto this year. Whereas, among other statistics, 1 violent crime is committed in America every 6 seconds, and 24 million Americans are victims of crime each year. And of those, 5.2 million are victims of violent crime. And whereas we as individuals and the community recognize that justice isn't served until crime victims are afforded justice through the courts, and the constitutional rights that are afforded in California are fully realized, and this department strives to inform and enforce all rights. Whereas we continue in the 21st century, we are committed to creating a world where legal and constitutional rights of victims are honored, and that public agencies are accountable for the treatment of victims of crime. Whereas the Yuba County Probation Department Victim and Program Services is now entering its 27th year of service to victims of crime in Yuba County area and celebrating the 21st annual Candlelight Vigil. Whereas Yuba County Board of Supervisors commends Stephanie Wright, Wendy Alt, Melissa Ballou, Adam Reed, Danae Dennis, and Jolene Stone, program volunteer for Yuba County Victim Services for their dedication and service to crime victims in Yuba County on a volunteer basis, providing therapy to children, over 2,000 hours combined, and to Teresa Sadell for her efforts to ensure justice within the District Attorney's Office, all victims of crime, and to Yuba County Sheriff's Department Detective Frank Knight for his ongoing and tireless dedication to law enforcement and the protection of crime victims in Yuba County, especially children and victims of sexual assault, and to Yuba County Deputy Probation Officer Tim Roberson for his effort to ensure justice for all victims during criminal court process and referring victims to the County Victim Services Program, and to Marysville Police Officer Gabriel Carter for her valiant efforts to connect victims of crime to this program. and to Sutter Butte's Doll and Study Club and the Brownsville Quilt Guild for their generous donations of dolls and books and beautiful quilt donations to victims of crime, respectively. Whereas Yuba County would like to honor all victims of crime by remembering those lost to senseless acts of violence and remember that every victim is a survivor who deserves the opportunity to be treated with dignity, fairness, and respect. This department strives to ensure that all crime victims are afforded and understand their constitutional rights through Marcy's Law. Whereas Yuba County Probation Department Victim and Program Services is joining forces with law enforcement agencies, criminal justice officials, and concerned citizens throughout Yuba County, California, and all of the United States of America to observe National Crime Victims' Rights Week. Therefore, be it resolved, Yuba County proclaims the week April 22nd through April 29, 2012 to be Yuba County Crime Victims' Rights Week and honors crime victims and those who serve them during this week and throughout the year. And be it further resolved that as individuals, communities, and a nation, we value justice in America that includes and involves crime victims and seek to serve justice by serving victims of crime.
Thank you. Two more
It's a resolution.
pages. That's it. Okay. Yeah, you wish to speak?
Good morning, Mr. Chairperson. After listening to that, I guess I was a little worried when I put that together. Board members, thank you for this opportunity this morning to be here and make this annual presentation that we do, and for declaring, hopefully this morning, April 22nd through the 29th, 2000 Crime Victim Rights Week here in Yuba County. For us, this is a very important event, an important week, and we honor, we're here to remember, and to bring to the forefront victims' rights and remind them that there is hope. So today I stand before you for a number of reasons. First, I do believe that the staff of Yuba County Victim Services is a phenomenal group of individuals. They've created a model program in the state, in our county, and offer services and provide support to victims that nowhere else in California will you find. It's pretty important. Second, the relationship that these folks have with other county departments is amazing. Be it law enforcement, CPS, the district attorney's office, other county departments. It's unrivaled anywhere in the state. We work seamlessly together, and they do a great job with that. And also, all the agencies in this county work with our staff very well. And because of this, I think crime victims in our county benefits greatly. So last night, or Sunday evening, was our 21st annual candlelight vigil. And it was amazing. I want to say it was successful, but it's difficult to use success with an event like that. There's over 250 people that attended, which was a remarkable number, a huge increase from last year. And they were able to grieve and remember and cry and find support. And they were reaffirmed that this county cares about them and remembers, what has happened to them. It's also saddening to know that that number grew, because that means that there was more tragedy or loss of homicide in our community. But for us, at Victim Services, it reminds us that we still have work to do. We have a lot to do. So lastly, one of the big reasons we're here is to present to some community members as well as other officials from county departments some plaques and just kind of recognize their efforts and what they've done. Because without that collaboration or the volunteers that we have in our program, the volunteers in the community, we would not be able to do what it is we do. And so it's important, I think, that we recognize those individuals. So I'm not sure if you guys wanted to do the resolution first, and then we can hand out the plaques, and you guys can, however you guys want to do that.
Did you have any? No, just continue with what you're doing.
Okay. So I'd like to begin today with by bringing up a young lady to speak to you. This year we chose a young person to come and honor here, and we are calling her our hero of the year. And so she wants to talk to you a little bit about herself and kind of her journey through life. And so I would invite her to come forward.
it back in. My parents were in and out of jail or prison until I was 7. When I reached age 7, they messed up big time. I found out I was going to be adopted. I had been in a foster home before, so I wasn't surprised when they told me my great aunt adopted me. It was Christmas Eve when we got to my great aunt's house. I was excited, but I missed my mom. My mom messed up many times. This is one reason I won't do drugs or alcohol. I want to be a successful writer when I grow up. Even though I had a good home, I had an attitude problem. This is when I started seeing Jason. He has helped me a lot in those years and recently. 4 characteristics I have learned are loyalty, attentiveness, trust, and courage. He taught me all these and dealt with my attitude for about 6 years. I am very happy for the life I have now, and I am working hard to improve it.
So we have to give to Tricia today a medal, and it has her name and some of the hero award in the back of it. So, sitting next to Tricia is her aunt who adopted her and her 2 siblings. So Connie's also a pretty important person to us and obviously in their lives. So thank you, Connie, as well. So the first plaque that I would like to give is to, I'd like to invite Michelle Porter to come forward, please. I'd also like to ask Debbie to come forward too, please. So, we met Michelle some time ago, and you guys have noticed in the hallway out here that there's pictures up, and we have some pictures in here to show you guys. Michelle and her employer every year print the pictures for us at cost and deliver them from Sacramento to us. And so it's another example of how we couldn't do what we do without community members. So we have a plaque for Michelle that we'd like to present to her for her efforts, and then we have a certificate to give to Metro Print Mail Solutions. So thank you, ladies, very much. Greatly appreciate it. The next group that I'd like to recognize is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So I'd like to ask that Kim Elvine and Cheryl Elvine come up, please. So Cheryl's a member of our department. She works for probation. She approached me about a year ago and said, hey, is there something that we can do as a group to help you guys out? And I said, let me think about it. So together what we came up with was a project to put together some bags, and in those bags would be clothes, slippers, all kinds of things, toiletries, and all various sizes would be put together. So as a church, they put this project together, they went out and did this, and we utilized those bags, unfortunately too much, but to give to sexual assault victims after they've had the sexual assault exam. And so it's been a great project working together with them. It's something that we could not do on our own. We can do it all, actually. So great help. Cheryl, we have a certificate for you. And then we have a plaque for the church.
Awesome. Thank you.
So thank you, ladies, very much. So as she was walking away, she let me know that our office has also been selected again for 2012 to do another service project with, so thank you guys. So Christmas time this year, we had a mother of somebody that we've worked with for a while come call me and ask if there was something that she could do for members of our community. And her father and her wanted to do something. And so
the body shop in Yuba City with Irene Lujan, kind of spearheading this, and then Gerald, her father, put together Christmas baskets and food for a number of families, both in Yuba County and Sutter County. And they used our office to identify people that we work with that were in the greatest need. And so there was hundreds of dollars worth of gifts for these children. It was absolutely amazing. So we'd like to tell the body shop thank you. Gerald, if you could come forward. And the staff here are all the employees. All of the employees of the body shop just did this on their own and got together. And so we thank you guys very much. Unfortunately, Irene was sick, so she couldn't be here today. But we wish her well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'd like to have Beth Marshall come forward, please. Always smiling. Always has a smile. So, part of the first few were really easy. It wasn't a lot of discussion that we had to have. When we sit and talk about members of law enforcement who we're going to recognize, we really put a lot of effort and thought into the people that we choose. And Terry Val has daily contact with Beth. And Beth works in records at the Sheriff's Department, and without Beth, we wouldn't know what was going on in this community in terms of crime. And so we want to just let you know that we appreciate it. We appreciate you're always smiling, even when there's some people out in front of the window that are difficult to work with. She has the best attitude. I don't think I've ever seen her get angry or raise her voice. Just very patient, and so we thank you very much. So if I could have Detective Frank Knight come forward, please. So Frank also works with the Yuba County Sheriff's Department and is a detective at this time. And Frank has been dealing with child abuse in our time and has done a remarkable job with that. He is very patient. Last year when I said nice things about a detective, I got reamed for it afterwards because they wanted to be tough. But, you know, Frank's tough. We start with that. But he has this other side to him too. And he is patient with these kids. He's patient with these angry, distraught parents that have just learned that something happened to their child. And he doesn't shy away from those conversations. He does a great job. So, Frank, thank you very much for what you do, and we appreciate you. Thank you. So if I can have Monique Phillips and Reem Burris come forward, please. So, I'll talk about Reem first. Both these individuals work for Yuba County CPS, and I've worked with Reem since I think I started here at the county, and Monique since she's been here. And both of these individuals are forensic interviewers. Reem formerly, Monique currently. But Reem does a phenomenal job making sure that when a child comes through their department, we get notified and the victims of crime applications start. If she has a concern about somebody, she's on the phone with Liz or Val saying, hey, what can we do to get this child into counseling? What can we do to help them? Or give me some ideas. And again, she's very caring, very compassionate. Usually is always smiling. But we appreciate you, Reem, and thank you very much for everything. So Monique, let's talk about Monique. Monique is currently one of our forensic interviewers here in North County and does a remarkable job. She has an unforgettable laugh and an unforgettable tone to her voice that just calms and relaxes the kids. I see she's trying not to laugh right now. But she does a remarkable job with the interviews. I think she did over 30 of them last year, which is a large number of interviews to be doing. And so we appreciate you, Monique, and thank you very much. Tim Roberson. So Tim, last year, for most of the year, had the task of working with the low-risk caseload in our department. And even though they were labeled low-risk, I will tell you from my interaction with Tim and his interaction with our staff, he provided them a lot of support and services and really got to know the majority of his people that were maybe at a higher risk to reoffend or get in trouble. And he sought out help for them. He was creative in utilizing some of our volunteers that we have in our office, therapists, to provide services to them, and would connect them with our office, even though they were on probation, if they had children and there had been some type of crime that their children may have encountered, to get those children in counseling and get them eligible for services. So Tim, thank you, and we appreciate you. Thank you. Teresa Seidel. I'm going to stand up here. Okay, so Teresa's always joking with me, but I will tell you it's an honor to work with her. This woman has a ton of passion, a ton of compassion, and when she starts out to do something, there is not anything that's going to stop her. She advocates for children. She pushes things through court that are difficult. You know, there may be some uncertainty there, but if there's a reason to do it, she does it. And you know, I think there's a saying that goes, "Do the right thing even when no one's looking." She's always doing the right thing even when people aren't looking. And so we're grateful to have you in the position you're in. We hope you stay there forever. And we appreciate you. So one of the things that I want to do as well is our volunteers that we have in our office, if you guys could stand up for me, please. All the therapy volunteers. So Adam, Stephanie, Danae, Melissa, Wendy are here today. There's a few others that are not here today. These individuals, most of them are done with their master's program now, but they have been volunteering with us, working with children. Wendy and Stevie went into the jail and saw people while they were in jail, provided services there for a while, and provided services to adult probationers as well. So thank you guys for what you've done, and we obviously couldn't do half of what we're doing right now without you, so thank you. So Val, if you could come up, please. She keeps telling me I'm in trouble for this, but... So this is Valerie Thomas. She is an intervention counselor with our office, and she does a little bit of everything for us. She reluctantly learned how to do restraining orders, and so Terry had help. And she is assisting Liz and Angie and Terry and myself with advocacy work. She does all the paperwork for the domestic violence program. She's also, last year she worked on her own a homicide case as the advocate, which is very difficult, but very rewarding, and she did a phenomenal job with that. So that will, I'm sure, continue in the future. But we appreciate Val, everything that she does. She does her job. She doesn't usually complain. And she doesn't run. Nobody's perfect, right?
Say no.
Val's very passionate about what she does as well, and she's very assertive when she does it. But she is compassionate and does a great job with it. So it's an honor to work with Val. It's an honor to work with everybody else that has come up here and that's sitting out there today. And thank you, Val.
Stop talking.
Sorry, there's two more. So, just like my resolution, I'm a little wordy. If I could have Diane Ball come up here, please. So, as you guys look over here, you're going to see some quilts. And each year, a couple times a year, the Browns Valley Quilt Field comes, I'm sorry, I said Brownsville Quilt Field comes and delivers these quilts to us. These are a remarkable group of women that get together and make quilts and then donate them to our program for children and to other programs in the community as well. So every child that comes to our office gets to pick out a quilt. So they come in without something and they leave with something positive, and they're reaffirmed that they matter and that people do care. So we thank you very much for your efforts. The last one is the Sutter Beads Doll and Study Club. So is Peggy. Well, I just want to talk about the Sutter Beads Doll and Study Club. So they get a quilt, the children that come in, but they also get to pick a stuffed animal or a doll. So if you guys come into our office, you'll see on the southeast side of our building, there is 4 bookshelves from floor to ceiling, and they're just jam-packed with quilts and dolls. And again, another example of how without these community groups, we would not be able to do what it is we do. We strongly rely on volunteers. At this point, we have 12 volunteers, and we have 12 staff. And so you can see it's a joint effort. Those are individuals, and we have about 7 or 8 community groups that we work with on an ongoing basis. And without those groups and those people, we would not be able to do what we do. So thank you guys for your time. I do appreciate you allowing us to come and speak today. And have a great day.
Thank you.
Jason, you were talking about the bags and so forth, the items. What type of items can be donated and where would people drop them off?
So at this point, they can be brought to our office. One of the things that the church group did was they provided us extra bags and the extra items. So examples of things that are in there are toiletries, so toothpaste, toothbrush, deodorant, comb. There's flip-flops instead of shoes, but there's socks as well, underwear, sweats, sweatpants, t-shirt, things like that. So basically when somebody goes into the hospital to have a SART exam, they leave with nothing. They either bring their own clothes or they go home in a hospital camp. And so these ladies have made it so that that's not the reality anymore. So in the back of our vehicles, we have various sizes from extra small up to double or triple extra large in there. And Terry or Liz or whoever it is just grabs the bag, takes it in, and they get all of that.
Yeah, so mainly I just wanted everybody to know what types of items you guys are looking for, where they drop them off. Is that the same thing with if they had materials for quilts and so forth, could they drop them off here at your office and then the ladies from the Brownsville?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we would actually take it to them. Terry would do that, but that would be wonderful, yes. So they can drop it off there. Thank you.
To the chair, I'd like to thank Jason and all the people involved with Victim Witness. This is rather unique in the state of California. For such a small community, we have a lot of people involved with making our community better. Thank you very much for the sacrifices and the effort that you put in to a very unique, special organization.
You reminded Supervisor, right? just humbled. It's just a special experience to know that we're part of such a great outreach. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. It's really great to see so many hardworking volunteers in the community working on very worthwhile projects. It's really very heartening to see this. Thank you all. Moving on then.
Hold on, before we do that, I'd like to make a motion to adopt this resolution.
Oh, yeah, I guess we better do that.
I'll second that.
Housekeeping.
A minor point. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? You better not be opposed.
Won't walk out.
With all those people out there, get out the door. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
One of the better guide programs we have. Moving on. We'll wait a couple minutes. So. Good job, Michelle.
Much. This is so minimal what we can thank you with, so. Yes.
Okay, I guess we can go on to the meeting.
Thank you.
Moving
You
on
do
to
too.
ordinance and public hearings.
If you challenge all action or decision of the Yuba County Board of Supervisors regarding zoning, planning, land use, or environmental protection matters made at any public hearing described in this notice, you may be limited to raising only those issues you or someone else raised at such a public hearing, or written correspondence delivered to the Yuba County Board of Supervisors at or prior to such public hearing. And such public comments shall be limited to 3 minutes per person or group. Item A is ordinance, hold public hearing, waive reading, and adopt ordinance repealing and reenacting various chapters of the Yuba County Consolidated Fee Ordinance relating to departmental fees. This is the second reading, continuing from April 17, 2012.
Yes.
Good morning, Mr. Stopper, members of the board.
Grace?
Grace Mull from the County Administrator's Office. As the clerk has mentioned, this is the second reading of the Consolidated Fee Ordinance for fiscal year 12-13. The first reading was last week. There have been no revisions since then. I'm available this morning for questions if you have questions regarding the fee schedule as well as county staff.
Any questions, comments? Well, we all hate fees, but we got to do it, huh?
Open the public hearing.
Yeah, let's open the public hearing. Public hearing. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter?
Okay. Move to close public hearing. Waive the reading and adopt the ordinance repealing and reenacting various chapters of the Yuba County Consolidated Fee Ordinance Code. Second.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing. Any further comments from the supervisors? In any case, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Grace.
Item B, ordinance, hold public hearing, waive reading, and adopt ordinance amending section 2.25.010 relating to regular board of supervisors meetings held outside the county seat. This is the second reading, continued from April 17, 2012.
To the chair, as indicated, this is the second reading. It's an ordinance that would allow you to have board meetings, regular board meetings, as long as the proper notice was given as required by statute. Those regular meetings would still be done within the county of Yuba and would require a 1 week notice, and location would have to be a location that meets all the state and federal requirements.
It is a public hearing. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this item?
We'll close the public hearing, waive the reading of the ordinance.
Any quick comments to the board? Okay, so all those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carried. Items of public interest. Consider request to close Shad Road, May 4 through 6, 2012, waiving road closure fee of $2,400 per day, and take action as appropriate. Who was?
Jared Fisher, owner of MMX Racing down there in the Shadpad River Bottoms. Good morning, Sharon. I just would like to put on a unique event down there in my place on that weekend, and through this process, I came across this fee here and was seeing basically in order to do this event, I think the county will benefit my outside people coming in for the 3 days, and I think that would help offset some of the expense of this fee here. I think it would be a good benefit to the community.
And to the chair. I've been down to these events, and we've had people from as far away as San Diego, Reno, the Bay Area. It's really starting to become a draw for outside people to come to our community. There are very few actual people from our community that use that track, which is bad. But, this is part of what I really would like to see us pursue is working toward our strengths. We have 3 motocross tracks now. We've got 5 lakes, and I think this will benefit the community. It's got a big 4x8 sign there pointing the way to Walmart so that they don't get lost. And he's put a lot of effort in making that track very attractive. And like I said, people come from out of state just to run this track. And this is going to be a unique event. How far are you jumping across that road?
I think it's like a 50, 60 foot no obstacle to across that. But and also this is the Sierra Old Timers MX, so this is like 40 plus, up to like 70, and everybody's coming from all over the country actually on this event here. So I think I got a couple people who come down from Canada for this event.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I have a question about your neighbors here. There's other operations going on in that area down there. How's that response been with those folks?
The road closure is approximately about 300 feet of Shad Road, and it takes place after the entrance to the East Street MX facility. So you still have full access to the East Street MX facility, won't impede on that at all. It'll take place, I believe I gave Robert may have a map, or maybe you guys have a map of showing the actual area that's closed off. It's approximately 300 feet.
Okay, and then could you get a breakdown of what the money normally would go for? Should you pay the proper fee, get a description of what it is that is being affected?
Morning, Chair, members of the board, Kevin Allen with Community Development. So the fee was established by the board, I can't remember how many years ago, a good 5 years ago. The purpose was that if a private entity wanted to close a public road, then there should be some offset or benefit to the public for the private entity closing the road. And it was something that was enacted as kind of a deterrent for folks wanting to close the road for their, to reduce their construction costs. We had entities that were wanting to close roads in order to do road construction projects because then they could save on having to pay for traffic control, flagging, that kind of thing. And so the fee was somewhat of a deterrent, and also something that if an entity felt it was to their benefit to close the road, that private entity closing the road to the public, then the public would benefit by receiving those funds. They would go back to the road fund, and then we'd be able to use those funds to maintain our roads. So for this specific instance, it is a public road, it is a private entity requesting to close it. There is an impact to the public, probably not so much on the deterioration of the road, because Mr. Fisher will cover it with dirt, it sounds like, and then be able to uncover it. So in this instance, the public impact is probably more along the lines of access to the river, because this road does provide access to the river.
Do you know how much use that road gets normally? I mean, do we have any idea?
Which authorized use it is?
Well,
use.
So the road, I think it varies depending on weather. Rainy days, probably not a lot of folks using that road to venture down the river. On a warm spring day or maybe more.
Yeah.
I think the fee was intended to close something like Feather Boulevard or one of the actual traveled roads. This is what, 300 feet, 400 feet goes to the river. At most, we inconvenience maybe 20 people. I think that the benefit outweighs the fee, and I like to think that we could grant the request that Shad Road waive the road closure fee and on this.
One last question. You have a $500,000 property insurance consideration to deal with the road if there is issues. That isn't the total of your general liability insurance or your event insurance.
Whatever the requirement is that Yuba County needs, needs necessary is what I can get from my insurance company.
Okay.
All right.
Council, yes, sir.
Anybody out there wish to comment on this item?
Robert may have.
To the chair, I believe that this manager and I both have some concerns in regards to, number one, as you know, the board has adopted an ambulance ordinance. This is one of the activities that requires that an ambulance will be on premises. It doesn't mention that in your letter, but you would be complying with that requirement?
My insurance requires any of my residents I have ambulance staff, and that would be my county ambulance.
And additionally, in regards to the insurance, Mark, did you want to speak to that?
Robert, did you have something different?
Through the chair, Martha Wilson, risk manager of Yuba County. The only thing that we've discussed so far today is whether or not to charge a fee for the road closure, but there are other items of interest that the county has from a risk side of the house, and as county council pointed out, we do have an ambulance ordinance that covers this type of an event that also has insurance requirements. And I know that the applicant has discussed and with his proposal says that he's willing to enter into an agreement with the county for indemnification for general liability. That I would still like to see what the insurance coverage is for that type of general liability. The indemnification is great, but it's only worth as much as the insurance is worth to cover that kind of cost. So I think we would need to approve the insurance certificates with that type of liability. And I would also like to see a waiver of subrogation so that his insurance company, once paying the claims, then can't come after the county for anything, which is fairly standard in some of our insurance provisions.
I don't see an issue with that.
Through the chair, the comment or the question I would have then, I have a couple questions. The first one is, on the map that I can tell, it looks like there's access to the E Street motocross. But the question was raised, the issue was raised, what about the general public? How are the general public going to access the river if this road is closed?
That's what I was, I mean, if necessary, we can make it, and I can do certain crossings at certain times to get them out to the parking lot. That's kind of why I'm asking for the road closures for this unique event.
Is there another route that people can take around the event to get down to the river?
I could potentially put together something of that nature, yes.
When they go down E Street, they get to the,
They can go through, it just depends on what area they want to access to the river, but yes, they can go down E Street and go underneath the bridge and access the river to the east of the bridge there. And then also, I do know there's entrance to the Simpson Lane entrance, and then also, if necessary, I can bring them in through potentially an alternative route of my property.
to the chair. This entrance here is designed strictly for pedestrian traffic. It's not designed to have access for four-wheel drive vehicles and ATVs going off into the property out in this area. Is that correct?
Yes.
So it's, legal activity is no problem, and it's pedestrian traffic that we're talking about.
And gladly, all of the vehicles could be parked there, and the pedestrians can still have access to the river, which they legally have access to.
Robert?
Yes, I just wanted to add, I had an opportunity to talk with Wendy, of course, and then Hardin from Community Development, and also Mr. Fisher. And as you'll see, the consideration of road closure, I just wanted to just read through quickly the items, and then also briefly after that, should your board consider this for approval. So Mr. Fisher did state that he would provide an electronic road notification sign indicating the road will be closed on the date stated above, which May 4th to the 6th. This will be provided at his cost and will be placed near the Shad Pad entrance on Northville Road no later than 5 days prior to the event, so the public is notified. Provide for road closure barriers where the road is closed, that 300 to 400 foot area that he was talking about that will be racing across to access that other side that you saw on the map. A press release will be issued by him to the appellant Pratt at his cost prior to the event, indicating the road closure again, providing further notification to the general public. Insurance coverage for property damage of a minimum of $500,000 based upon the recommendation from Risk Management and Public Works. We provide to cover any damage to the road because, again, they will be racing across it. The county will be listed as an additional insured on their insurance policy. The county will receive the specific location of the Shad Road is to be closed, and he's attached that to his letter. And he'll enter into a contract agreement with the county that will stipulate the county is fully indemnified for all damages, including the legal fees resulting from personal injuries to race participants or spectators. And then in addition to that, I certainly concur with our risk manager and council regarding the additional insurance. Immediately after the event, Mr. Fisher has said he will make an appointment to revisit his conditional use permit with county staff, laying out some projected events, so those modifications can be made appropriately to the CUP. So, and I would also add that I think with that date rapidly approaching here, that I think it's not this weekend, it's the following weekend, is that correct?
Yes.
I think at a minimum, by Monday or Tuesday of next week, and hopefully they'll communicate sooner with our risk management, if your board does move forward with this, to make sure that we have the proper insurance requirements that are needed. And I would like your board's approval that if those aren't met, then we cannot move this forward. But he has to provide the proper insurance requirements and meet with Martha and make sure that those are taken care of. If not, my recommendation is not allowed to move forward, strictly from a liability perspective.
I would amend that motion then to include the stipulations Mr. Biddler gave us.
And I agree. It sounds like you're going to be fine with that. What is the overall value of your insurance coverage? What is it?
It's a $1 million policy.
$1 million.
Yeah.
Per occurrence?
Yeah, I believe so. I don't have my certificate. Yeah.
Okay, I would second the motion with the amendment as well.
Through the chair, our liability and our risk of liability, is it primarily to cover damage and repairs to the road as a result of any racing activities? Or are we talking about regular risk liability if someone gets hurt or crossing the road, including participants? Exactly what risks are we looking at?
We're talking about both.
Tell me about
Damage to the road is covered under property insurance, and that the applicant is saying he's willing to provide $500,000 worth of insurance for that. I have assurances from our Public Works Department that that would be adequate for if there were any physical damage to the road. The general liability is for accidents and injuries, and that's why the ambulance ordinance requires $3 million per occurrence. Automobile insurance and workers' compensation insurance coverage for any workers, employees of the applicant, so that that doesn't come back on the county. The waiver of subrogation requirement is so that if the applicant's insurance then pays for any accident or injury, that the applicant's insurance company can't then come to us and ask for subrogation and say, all right, we paid out this claim, now you owe us that money. It puts the onus of complete responsibility for all accidents and injuries on the applicant, which is where it should be since this is the county event.
And that was why I mentioned the ambulance ordinance, because this particular activity is one of the ones that's spelled out in the ordinance as having to meet all those requirements, in addition to having an ambulance on site.
And the bodily injury is what, 1 million or 3 million?
3 million according to the ambulance ordinance.
Per occurrence, and how much in aggregate?
It just says per occurrence. The ordinance says per occurrence.
Okay. I presume that's all part of the agreement then, what Martha said.
What we're saying is that if your board decides to approve this today, you're approving it subject to review of risk management and council.
Review and approval. Right. Yeah. Okay. 2 departments. Mr. Bender and Martha Wilson. Okay. So we have a motion to second with those conditions.
Actually, through the chair, it would be 3 departments: county administrator, risk management, and the county council would approve the language of the indemnity.
Okay. Approve of the 3 departments.
And is that also going to include some provision of providing some alternate route for the public? I don't believe they'll be allowed to use the E Street MX or whatever it's called to access the river on the south side.
So you're making that a condition of the approval?
And that's what I'm asking. I'd like to make that a condition that they also provide something, because I mean, I can just see that weekend going to be our first 100-day weekend. And they're not going to see the signs because they don't go down there normally. They may not see it, so they're going to show up and all they're going to find is the road closed. And, they're just going to be problems. They'll try to go around, they'll do all sorts of things. And so I think you have to expect that they're going to be down there. What are we going to do? How are we going to get them down to the river so that they don't interfere with your event? And at the same time, allows them that access. I mean, that's why I'm concerned about.
They're closing the road for a reason, you know. And we're
No, I understand that, but I just would like to see an alternate route for the public to access the river on the south side. I understand on the north side they can go around, you know, there and so forth, but I don't think you're going to be able to cross the river to get to the
Well,
south.
when they come in from if you go off at this at the East Street MX facility, and then once you get behind the railroad track and the bridge, there is access that way.
Okay, so
It's not on that map, so basically after you go underneath the bridge,
if you'll develop that and just have it approved by Public Works or whatever, that's an acceptable thing, and just have the appropriate signage so people can follow that, that would be fine.
Give them maps how to get to the river.
Jared, I don't know if it's possible, right? I know the races, obviously, you're going to have break times in between when the races are occurring, and maybe if the staff that are out there controlling those barriers, or you have a point person up on top, when people come in, maybe not for your race, that you can tell them the times. Maybe there's specific times during those 3 days that you can move the barriers, people can then go through, access the parking lot in that area on the south side of the river where most people congregate down there. that maybe there could be certain intermittent times, I would imagine, that people.
I think we can do intermittent times for the pedestrians to cross. I don't know if I would like to take the vehicles across. If I left a designated area there for them to park their vehicles before my barriers there and still allowing the access clearly to East Street's facility, I could definitely make some designated times to get the pedestrians to the other side of the track there to access the river. And I can also put a staff member up on the levee, as you're saying, to help with that.
You know, because of the liabilities and so forth, I don't think it's a good idea to allow any crossing of that track anytime, because someone's going to slip through there or some, you know, whatever, at some inappropriate time and get hit by a rider or, and I think you either need to have it closed all the time or not, and you have to have it closed. So I think you should just close it and just make sure you want to go down the river, this is the route this weekend that you have to take.
Okay.
But they can take a route and get to the river, they just have to go around this way on that particular weekend.
Okay.
I don't think it's a good idea to, sometimes you can, sometimes you can't, and you know, it's hard enough that keeping people from crossing anyway.
Absolutely.
You know, so some people know that at this time you can, they're just going to start crossing all the time.
Especially in the return, you don't know when they would figure they're done with their visit, so that would be a problem coming back. You know, I appreciate the input and I hope you understand we're excited about having an event. There's a lot to consider that we have to be aware of, and obviously your sport, the athletes in your sport are at high risk. It's, you know.
For sure.
Yeah.
I appreciate your guys' time, thank you.
Yeah, but also understanding we have 3 departments to vet through to get your stuff. And just ask the staff, please look for Jared's work and try to be as express as possible so we can look at this stuff and help them get on track with this event and make it happen. If we don't want to be an obstacle in that way, not to be honest.
Okay.
So are you guys willing to add that to the motion? About making sure that there's an alternate route for public access to the river?
I think we covered that earlier, but sure, we can, no problem. Give them a map and they want to go.
Okay. Anybody else? In that case, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carried. And all the conditions as stated. Moving on to correspondence.
Item A is notices from the California Fish and Game Commission regarding the receipt of a petition to list the gray wolf as endangered. Proposed regulatory action regarding ocean salmon and Klamath Trinity River salmon sport fishing, and proposed emergency regulatory action related to Blue Catherine State Mine Conservation Area. A copy of these notices were provided to the Yuba County Fish and Game Advisory Commission. Item B is a letter from Yuba Sutter Veterans Stand Down requesting a letter of support for organization. Item C is a letter from Department of Veteran Affairs commending Veteran Service Officer Marvin King for work done securing benefits of local veterans and their families. A copy was provided to Human Resources. Item D is a letter from Mental Health Services Oversight and Accountability Commission enclosing policy paper on transformation of the mental health system titled Client-Driven, Family-Focused Transformation of the Mental Health System through the California Mental Health Services Act. Item E is a letter from the California State Mental Health Association regarding organization and member sponsorship.
Thank you. Any comments on the correspondence?
To the chair, I do have a question. Comment. In the first sentence there, Marvin King was obtaining new and increased monthly cash benefits from the Department of Veterans Affairs in the amount of $219,000. Just Marvin has really been quite an asset to our community. Has worked very hard for veterans, not just would like to thank him for that.
Okay. Moving on to board and staff member reports. Roger.
Excuse me. In the last week, I turned in an emergency medical care meeting over the weekend. And in the afternoon, I attended the RCRC tour, includes area of the rice mill, dryer, and packaging plant, as well as the Crusoe National Wildlife Refuge. They apparently this year had a rare Chinese duck there at the refuge that caused their annual visitor population to go up from 10,000 to 15,000 and 20,000 people. Anyway, so we're getting foreign visitors apparently now. And then on Thursday morning, there was the RCRC meeting inclusive as well. I attended on Friday a CSAC Institute class managing conflict and disagreement. And also attended Riverside Meadows Middle School out of Lewis Lake at a fundraising dinner for their athletic program. And on Sunday, I attended the candlelight vigil that Jason was speaking. That's it.
And I just have one item, and I'd like to thank Steve Fordyce and RD 784 for funding to the Lord's Gym $4,437 for their fee that they charged them. They were very nice of them to do that. $4,600, not bad. Okay.
Okay, John.
Thank you. I'd like to close today's meeting in honor of Homer Goodwin, longtime local resident here, and probably one of the greatest Gold Sox fans that we've had. Started the Booster Club, in fact. Got the radar signs put in place on Alicia Avenue for school speeds, and had an instant response from residents. Appreciate that work getting done. Is at the victim witness event with Supervisor Abe, and I've never seen it that busy. It was, without question, one of the largest participant events I've seen out there. I've been contacted several times about the marijuana ordinance since our last meeting. It's generated many calls, a lot of concern from landlords. And there's also a terrific amount of effort for trying to expand the nuisance ordinance into a collective cultivation consideration as well. And I just want to remind folks that that's not part of the deal. This is dealing with nuisances in response to an overwhelming number of complaints during a very short period of time. It's had a dramatic effect on the community, and it's our start point. But I'll be happy to share any of those notes or bits and pieces out of the ad hoc committee as accordingly, but looking forward to getting the second reading of the ordinance underway. I attended the ordinance workshop yesterday that the planning department put on. I thought it was really good to revisit the rudiments of ordinances and zoning and those kinds of issues. There were about a dozen people that attended. I think everybody got quite a bit out of that. Wanted to also attended the Linear Fire Association and monthly gathering this last week. It was a short-lived good time and an emergency call that really displayed just how much resources may be made available for citizens, in this case in a repeat fashion, and still they had to be part of a pretty sorrowful event that night. It's too bad that a lot of these firemen that do the work just despite their best efforts, were unsuccessful helping this resident. Perspectives Lunch is coming up Friday. I'll remind everybody to be there, and it should be a pretty exciting event. Pretty exciting to see it come around. I'm proud of the county for taking the time to recognize our economy movers. And a closing comment, just for the benefit of the county, I just want to make mention that up at Goodyear Bar, which is a main feeder into Bullard's Bar Dam, we are right now experiencing about 2,980 CFS cubic square feet of water coming through that system, coming into Bullard's. The last time we were at that great of a rate was in 1952, and it was a couple of hundred CFS greater. It's 3,170 CFS, and that was a all-time high water mark. So I want to mention that because in 1952 we flooded. Bullard's Bar is doing its job. We can look at the river. We're talking about doing a motocross event because we have room down there between 11s. So the science and the efforts, the investment in public safety, and the commitment from the people that had the vision and the ability to put that project together is paying off in pretty excellent ways for our community right now. It's an ahead things.
First of all, I'd like to ask the board to adjourn in memory of the two folks in Foothills who died recently. One is, the first one is Donald Halgeyer, 92 years old of Browns Valley, passed away. And the second one is Deborah Sparks. She was only 51. She was very active in the Lions Club, which the club is very active as well in Lower Browns Valley. We'll miss those folks. Yes, I've gotten, since our last marijuana meeting, I've gotten several calls. And a couple of people just called up and said thanks for holding the line, for getting the ordinance in, at least passing the ordinance. That they were, I think, as was stated before, there were a lot of people there last time. Some of them, there was a lot of comments from just, well, not the majority, but a number of people who felt they really need to express their opinion very strongly, but others that were maybe a little more intimidated or shy enough to speak at this public meeting, which is kind of sad. Also, I've had communication that reliable communication of people have been moving into Yuba County from elsewhere. Maybe renting a building or buying a building, so that just for the cultivation of marijuana, and some other people in the foothills wanting to come in and buy from outside somewhere, some other state, where looking to buy property. And they were no qualms about it. They wanted to buy property in the foothills to cultivate marijuana. And I don't think this is a good idea. I'll leave it there right now.
Excuse me, when will we be able to discuss this openly?
You wish to speak on this?
Yes, I would like to speak on that. I have a prepared statement.
Next week is the second reading of the ordinance.
What date?
Next Tuesday.
May 1st, Tuesday. May 1st at 6 o'clock.
This meeting right now is for board member comments. I don't think we really should be having a debate on the subject here right now. We're having a scheduled meeting. What is it, the next meeting?
May 1st.
Okay. Okay, and also I had a long discussion last night with Mr. Bendorf about how we're going to promote and enhance agricultural activities in Yuba County. I think we have a great potential here. There was an article in the paper recently on the same subject. it's an area that I think the board could get into, and with good reason, and hopefully with some salutary effects for the ag business, agricultural interests, which would help out the county general. So I think I have a good feeling about it. I think we're moving in a good direction, and I continue to do that. And thanks, Mr. Fleming, for your help too. So let's see, what else? That's about all I have at this time.
Through the chair, could I also ask I know there's an ad hoc committee, Super Stalker and Vasquez are on regarding the post fees and so forth out at the landfill. Can I ask a question as to where we're at with that and when, that may come before the board, that we could look at increasing or doing something with those fees?
We need to work on that some more. Unfinished business. My comments are well taken, yeah, we need to.
If we're going to do it, especially, I'd like to try and get it done well before our budget, proposed budget comes forward, so that we have a better idea of what those, amounts may be, as opposed to working on current fees and so forth.
Okay. We're putting some more time on it.
Yeah, if I may, through the chair, I think I informed both of you, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, that we were trying to get a meeting scheduled with Recology based on my latest update with the two board members. We have one scheduled for Wednesday. So we'll be meeting with the Recology representative.
You will be meeting with Recology?
Yes, correct.
Good luck. Okay. Folks down front, Michelle, anything?
No, I just have just a couple of brief comments. I just wanted to say I had the opportunity on this last week to participate in the job shadow program for preschool age children with the Children's Home Society. I was assigned to the E-Center Head Start location next to Marysville High School, and it was just a great experience. I could spend a couple hours as a co-instructor, if you will, for my class. Was a couple 3-year-olds, a couple 4-year-olds, and a 5-year-old. I was exhausted after about 2 hours, and those little tiny chairs were really uncomfortable. So I participated along with some Yuba College trustees and also a judge from Sutter County who went to different locations, and I was just amazed at the patience and the skill of the folks over at Head Start, and probably what was even more intriguing and admirable about that program. It's the same thing, the models that we've built here through probation, victim witness, et cetera, is we don't concentrate on the individual so much, but we focus on the family unit. And all the parents have to be in attendance with their children throughout the time of the preschool. So that's just fantastic, and it's a great experience. Also participated in the Shady Creek fundraiser on Friday, and they raised $40,000 for the Shady Creek program. So it's a good experience. And also for the chair and vice chair, we are proceeding forward with our meetings with the administration committee regarding the budget. We're still working with departments trying to fine tune some stuff before we present that to both of you. And so it's just been delayed by about a week, and that most likely will occur within the next week and a half. Also participated in a trial court. One of the unknowns is not spoke about very much is with realignment is that trial court security and the funding was realigned as well through AB 109 and its associated bills. And so I'm part of a committee that's working with CSAC and a couple of other counties, making sure the trial court security laws that we're amending, along with the State Sheriff's Association and the administrative office of the courts, will carry us well in the future. It's been a little bit of a struggle, making sure that the board still has that authorization and the control that it needs to make sure costs don't far exceed within the first year or two. But that funding is supposed to go directly to the county and not go through the AOC anymore. However, that requires some substantial changes. So we've been working on that, and it should be pretty close to resolution for next week. So otherwise than that.
Okay. There's nothing else to adjourn.
Aye.